Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be there today, but I wanted to go ahead and keep you guys up to pace. So here is what all the other classes did today, so hopefully it'll be pretty easy for you guys to do while I am gone. So what you're going to do today is learn all about the epidermis and the dermis. So what you should have in front of you is a white sheet of paper and a yellowish gold sheet of paper. So what we're going to start with is the yellow gold paper. So once you put it in your notebook, it will ultimately look like this. So be sure if it doesn't look like this yet that you do hit the pause button. You're going to cut it out. These are going to look very similar to your green regional term flashcards at the front of your notebook. So what you want to do is be sure that you leave plenty of space here on the sides to glue it down, and then you'll just cut along the lines, and then that'll make a nice little flap. So when we get to that point, you are going to write on the back on the paper once you get everything glued down. So I did mine, I turned my notebook sideways. It seemed to fit better instead of taking up 2 sheets of paper. So that's what I would do, just put it on landscape and then go ahead and paste that in. So once you've done that, you can move forward, otherwise just hit pause for right now. What you see on the left side, sorry mine is white but yours is yellow, is the layers of the epidermis. So there are 5 layers here. Stratum is just a fancy word for layer. And a good way for you to remember this, I wrote it underneath the flap for layers of skin, but a good way for you to remember it is big spiders grab little children. And that will help you remember the layers from bottom to top. Okay? So if you remember those big spiders grab little children, you can see that you have B for basal, S for spinosum, G for granulosum, L for lucidum, and C for corneum. So big spiders grab little children. So I would just pick up the flap that you made for layers of epidermis and just write that underneath. Now we're not going to write something for all of the layers, so it's okay if you have tabs that are blank, but we will write something down for a few of them. So we'll start at the basal layer. So if you would pull up that flap, and the basal layer underneath the flap, I would like you to write it is capable of continued cell division. And cells get pushed to the top. Pushed to the top. So again, this is what you're writing for the basal layer, so just pull up the flap and write it underneath. But this is where all the skin cells are made, and then they slowly get pushed to the top because a lot of the stuff at the top is dead or dying. So these get pushed up through the different layers, but this is the main job of your basal layer, is making new skin cells. Okay? The other layer I wanted to be sure that you know is the stratum lucidum. Kind of off to the side or at the top of your paper, be sure that you have written thick skin and thin skin. Or you can put it under this flap if you like, it doesn't really matter. Thick skin is 5 layers of your epidermis. And then thin skin is only 4 layers. Places that you'll find thick skin are like the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. If you kind of notice from those two, those are the only places that wrinkle when you're in the bathtub. So it's because they have this extra layer. Well, the lucidum layer is only present in thick skin. So that's the 5th layer that's only in your hands and in your feet. So it is only in thick skin. Okay? And then the last thing, I'm going to go ahead and erase. Well, just kidding, I'm not going to erase that. The last thing that I want you to put is for the corneum layer. So again, pull up the flap underneath. But this is actually dead. So all the skin cells that you see are dead on the surface. They flake off. That's what leads to dust, peeling skin, especially after you get sunburned. But the other thing that happens here, and if you'll put this under the flap as well, is a callus. And this is just an abnormal, let me see if I can put it on there, an abnormal thickening of this layer. So anytime you get a callus, it's because this layer has got abnormal growth and staying there. It's not shedding. Okay, so those are the layers of your epidermis. If we didn't put anything for a flap, that is okay. But just remember, big spiders grab little children. On the other side of your paper, you should have the cell types in the epidermis. So I tried to put these from deep to superficial too. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of where they are located. So at the very bottom is your Merkel cells. Okay, these are actually, again, do it underneath the flap. These are actually the least numerous out of all of the cells in your epidermis, and these function in the sensation of touch. So these are just pressure points and help with the sensation of touch. So those are your Merkel cells. The Langerhans cells, these are actually involved with immunity, immune response. So they're going to help keep you healthy. So if you will just put immune response. Your melaninocytes, these will actually produce melanin. I know, shocking. But they will produce melanin. And all that is a brown, black pigment. It's a brown, black pigment that gives skin its color. It gives skin its color. And, oops, I'm running out of space, sorry. Absorbs UV light. Okay, too much UV light could be really bad, but these will actually help to absorb some of that. So it not only gives you color, depending on how much of it you have, but it will also help protect you from damaging UV light. Okay, and then our last one, if you'll pick up the flap for our keratinocytes, this is about 90% of the cells in your epidermis. And basically its job, I'm going to go here on the left so I have plenty of space, it is going to produce something called keratin. And basically this is just a protein that is going to protect skin, from heat, microbes, and chemicals. Okay. So that should be it for your epidermis. So be sure you have that all filled in underneath your flaps. The next thing you want to do is your dermis. So you've been given a white worksheet with 3 different boxes. So what you want to do is cut them out and layer them just like I have here in this picture of my notebook. All I did was staple it. I didn't glue anything. I just got them lined up, and then they will flip open and you can see about the different layers. So hit pause if you haven't already done this. The dermis, remember, is below your epidermis, and it is much thicker than your epidermis, if you remember from our coloring sheet yesterday. It is very thick on the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet, but it is very thin on your eyelids. It's also vascular, so remember, if you cut yourself and it bleeds, then that means that you have gone into the dermis. It has collagen fibers for strength, elastic fibers for stretching. As we age, these fibers decrease, and that's what causes your skin to get all wrinkly. Another little fun fact, especially for you ladies, if you ever buy a leather purse or a leather wallet or belt, you are getting the treated dermis of an animal. So think about that. But your dermis is divided into two layers. So the papillary layer is the upper part of the dermis, and it actually contains some peg-like projections, and they are called dermal papillae. I've heard it pronounced papillae too. It's kind of like tomato. But basically, those projections will actually enhance your gripping ability, and funny enough, this is what actually gives you your fingerprints. So remember, those are genetically unique to everybody. You also have some Meissner's corpuscles located in your papillary layer, and those are just involved with some touch and pain. The other layer of your dermis is the reticular layer. So this is actually the deepest part of your dermis. So this is what's going to butt up against your subcutaneous level, and it contains the blood vessels. So again, if you get a deep cut, it's probably going down here. It has your sweat and oil glands, and then it has the Pacinian corpuscles, which are like deep pressure points. So the Meissner corpuscles are closer to the top. They're not going to sense as much pressure as your Pacinian. Those are the things we colored gray yesterday in the coloring worksheets. And then the last thing, you will find phagocytes here, and that actually, in case some bacteria got through the epidermis, it'll help fight it off so it doesn't get any deeper in the skin. That is it. So please be sure that you have these in your notebook and that you've put it on your table of contents. So your epidermis notes should be number 34, and then your 35th thing on your table of contents is your dermis flip chart or your dermis notes. So please be sure that you update it, you get everything in your notebook. And thanks for listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.